Hello again, YouTube. My name is Bree, and it has been a while, so I apologize for disappearing. It's been like 2 months, but I'm back, and we'll see how this goes. But I thought we'd start today with an unboxing, which is something I try not to do too often, too many new purchases. But I've been stressed out, and my friend showed me that Etchr is making these super cute little sketchbooks, and when I went to the site to look at those, I saw this mystery box, and I had no self-control, so mistakes were made, and we'll get into the box itself. But this is the Painter's Delight. There were two different editions, Painter's Delight and Smooth Operator, and I picked this one, and I had no idea what was going to be inside. So they advertised it as being a laminated edition, and their laminated edition sketchbooks tend to be these really pretty, unique, colorful ones that are sold at a limited run. So I thought it was going to be something like that. They did say it was going to be some of their popular items, so perhaps that's on me because it wasn't those edition of the sketchbooks. And initially, I admit I was a little disappointed. The first item is the watercolor brush set. This is a bunch of brushes meant for watercolors, obviously. And I've always liked the look of these brushes, the black brush roll with the white llamas inside, the orange tips on the brush on the end, and then the orange brushes and the black all throughout. I thought they always looked really cool, but I'm picky with my brushes. I have a lot of brushes, and I've never tried them, so at least this one is a new item. I have their gouache brushes. I have mixed feelings on it, but I could get into that later. But yeah, first item, brushes, makes sense. I did expect a brush or two. I didn't expect the whole brush roll, and I think that retails for about $60. The sketchbook will open up in a bit, but it is one of the white cover everyday sketchbooks. I've used these a lot. I have several of them. I don't currently have one in this size, so I'm not mad about it. I just expected something a little different, something unique, something fancier. So, once again, that's on me. They did not advertise falsely by any stretch. The next item, and it's the one I'll open next, the mini palette. I have this one. I actually bought the mini palette back in 2019, the 37 Wells one, just like you see here. And so I wasn't too excited about getting it, as I already have it. But when I opened it up, I was really disappointed because there's something funky on it. I haven't written them, to be fair, but you'll notice right away there's something that looks really rusty, and then there's dents on it. So it got presumably beat up in transit. Like, the box doesn't look rough, but the tin looks pretty beat up. There's a bunch of little dings in it. I know I'm a little picky. I'm a little anal about these things. Luckily, the palettes themselves are intact. And whatever that is that looks like rust, it did come off. I did have to really scrub at it with a couple different things. Unfortunately, it did strip the coating on the metal, so it doesn't have the same finish anymore. But having had one of these for 6 years, I know they do get a little dinged up in my bag anyway. And even like the llama that was on the top of my first one is gone. I put a sticker over it instead because it rubbed off over time. I already have one. I'm not sure I need another 37 well palette. I don't think it'll be good for gouache, and I don't have 37 extra watercolors, so I might give this to a friend now that it's cleaned up. I wouldn't sell it because it's not in pristine condition, but I'll figure that out later. And like I said, this is the Everyday Sketchbook, the white cover sketchbook, in A5 landscape. I've used one of these before in this exact shape and format, and it was a good experience. So, like I said, I can't complain. I love the sketchbook. It's just not quite what I expected. I can complain about the amount of plastic, so you really don't need to wrap both the sketchbook and then put it in a box and then wrap the box as well. It just seems excessive. The box with a little piece of tape should be fine. You do want to wrap paper though, so like the block and the sketchbook itself, it makes sense to wrap because the sizing of paper does expire, and it expires faster when exposed to the elements. So having it wrapped does protect the paper, so as long as it's stored, sealed, it's going to be in good shape. And I live in a humid environment, so that is an issue for me. So yeah, there you can see it did come off. It left a bit of a scuff, and there it is with my old one. I did also want to point out the brush had a ding on it too. So what I'm thinking happened was the brush, that particular brush, the rest of them look fine. I think it was smacking the tin in transit. You saw how everything was kind of in there with those black paper things, and I don't think it provided ample padding. Coincidentally, the outside of the box was wrapped in a lot of bubble wrap and then put in a plastic mailer. So once again, lots and lots of plastic. And yet, even so, the box got pretty dinged up. So I'm thinking it just got really smushed about in transit. It did come from overseas, so it's unfortunate. So yeah, like I said, initially I was kind of disappointed because I was expecting like a fancy sketchbook, something colorful, something different. And it was just, like I said, items I could buy in the store and probably items I wouldn't have necessarily bought. The brushes I don't really need. I have a ton of brushes. If I were going to buy the paper blocks, I didn't mention the blocks. If I were going to buy those, I probably would have gotten the cotton ones because they have cotton ones and wood pulp, and they sent 2 different wood pulp ones, the hot press and the cold press. And then the palette I already have, and the sketchbook, while it's great, the landscape isn't my favorite format, so I prefer the portrait. So yeah, overall, I got really excited when it arrived, and I admit I wasn't too excited after I opened it. However, once I started painting with the block, I turned it around a bit. So I was worried I wouldn't enjoy the brushes. They are springy, but not super firm. So they definitely have a bit of a snap to it, and the brushes, the larger ones, hold a really nice point. All the round brushes have a really, really nice point, and they actually surprise me. They do hold a fair amount of water. The blotchiness you see, I take full blame for this. I would like to try these out on cotton paper, just because cotton paper is a bit more my comfort zone. So cellulose paper, wood pulp papers, they definitely handle water differently, and they get a lot of blooms. That's something you could use stylistically, intentionally. Some people prefer cellulose paper because you get those really interesting blooms a lot more easily than you do on cotton. Where cotton, it's really easy to get really big, smooth washes because it holds a lot more water. So when it's blotchy, it's me. It's me being out of practice using cellulose papers. However, this is my first time actually painting on a block. I've never owned Well, I own a watercolor block. It's still in the plastic wrap, but I've never used it before. And the experience of painting on a block, which it's basically a watercolor pad, except it's sealed on all 4 sides with a little gap so you can pull that page off. It's delightful. I don't know why. I've never painted on a block before, but there is like no warping as you're painting, and it is beautiful. This is A4, so it's a little bigger than I'm used to painting, which is sad because it's not a huge size, but it's very bizarre to be working at this size and not having the paper warp on me. So, like I said, they've been around forever. I've been using watercolor forever. I can't believe I haven't painted on a block before. I feel very silly talking about how amazing it is because everybody else probably knows this, but it was a great experience. And I was worried painting on cellulose as well because I don't paint on cellulose papers a lot. I prefer cotton in general, and cellulose papers can be hit or miss. A lot of them don't hold up to a lot of water, to a lot of abuse, and I absolutely abuse my pages. I do a lot of lifting techniques. I dump a lot of layers on paper, and I sometimes use a lot of water as well. And especially when I'm using brushes I'm not familiar with, I'm not quite sure how aggressive I'm being. I'm used to using very soft brushes, which does help with cellulose. But it really can like wear at the paper. And I've seen a lot of cellulose papers pill just from layers, from rubbing, from general lifting techniques, just from being abusive in general. And this paper held up beautifully. So while I did get some of those textural elements that weren't necessarily intentional because lack of practice, it let me do all of my other techniques without destroying the paper. So between the lack of warping and the, I don't know, it was just like, this was a great experience. I am actually like blown away by this pad. Now, would I necessarily rebuy it? I don't know. If I was going to get another block, I might go for the cotton. However, cellulose paper is cheaper and it's holding up great. I'm very excited by it. Once again, I have no idea why I haven't tried painting on a watercolor block sooner. This mystery box did come with both the cold press and the hot press version. And I think I'm going to use the hot press with gouache when I'm ready to do another gouache painting because I think that will be a lot of fun. I'm I haven't done a lot of watercolor painting on hot press paper. I've tried it a few times. It's not really my thing. I don't know. I just don't enjoy it as much. Actually, I said earlier that you don't get a lot of blooms on cotton paper. You can't, it's a lot easier on hot press. And I think that's why I struggle with it. I like the texture. So we'll see. I don't know. I definitely want to do more gouache painting though. So having a block that I could dedicate to just gouache painting will also be a lot of fun. I do like painting with gouache on hot press paper. So that's incredibly rambly. As for the brushes, I did point out that one of them was dinged up. And like I said, I don't think it was a manufacturing defect. I think it was just the way it was packed. That was probably what put those little dents in the palette itself, or the tin for the palette. But they worked really well. I'm honestly surprised. I don't generally like stiffer brushes or springier brushes for watercolor, except for like lifting. I generally like really soft brushes. I have a lot of synthetic squirrel brushes, and they like mops. They hold a lot of water. They're really, really soft. They don't necessarily hold, like they can hold a good tip, but the tips wear out a lot faster because they are soft. But these brushes, they were just, they did seem to hold a good amount of water. Once again, the paper isn't my paper I'm used to, so I will do cotton paper in the future and compare and really know for sure. But yeah, the tips on these round brushes were incredible. I used only 2 of the round brushes. I did not go to the smaller sizes, even when doing like the eyelashes and the eyebrows, because I just didn't need to. They were fantastic. I will probably give these smaller ones a go when I get those little tiny sketchbooks, and use them on like the 2-inch one, give them a try there. Those are hot press. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing with all of them yet, but I plan to do some like sketchbook challenges. I'll get to that when I get those sketchbooks. I think they are supposed to release in July, so sometime later this summer, we'll make a project out of it then. But in the meantime, yeah, I'm just surprisingly having a good time. I was honestly really worried about starting this painting for a variety of reasons. It's always nerve-wracking when you're trying new paper and new brushes because they can very much throw off your process. But on top of it, my last watercolor painting was in February. And I wasn't using a comfortable brush then either, so I thought I would be really off my game. And I mean, there are definitely some areas where I was a little off, but overall, I just had a great time painting this. And yeah, all of my complaints about the supplies at unboxing kind of diminished as I was working. I was very happy. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I expected things that it's hard when you get a mystery box, because while it's a mystery, you can invent all these things in your head of what it's going to be. So my anticipation was the problem. Like I expected something that it wasn't billed to be, and that's on me. So I cannot fault them. They did everything they said they were going to do. It just happened to be some of the supplies I already had. And I don't know. It's on me. I feel like I'm being excessively whiny on my first day back, so I apologize. It's my channel. I can whine if I want to. Oh man. So let's talk about, I guess, the painting. I think I've talked about, I didn't talk about the paint. So obviously this palette didn't come with paint, or this mystery box, so I had to use my own. And I decided to work with my Szmal paints. Since I was working on a larger painting, I figured, and larger brushes, I definitely wanted to use the larger pans, and my Szmal paints are the only set I have with full pans, which makes it really nice for working with the big old brush. And the portable palette, the little mini palette, I'm forgetting what it's called precisely. When I get the small sketchbook, I will pull out the small palette that I already have that's already all filled up. There are definitely some wells that are empty now. It's been around for a while, but I will pull that guy out in the smaller brushes and try them all together at that time. So we'll continue to circle back, and oh my god, I sound like a business person. We'll come back to those and paint something with the other supplies I didn't use in this video at a later date. So there's a lot of videos that are just unboxings where it just, look at my art supplies I got, which is fun. It's fun, but I like to see them in use, and I know this one's not going to use all of them because I'm not going to paint in a sketchbook and on 2 different blocks with, yeah, it would just be excessive. I don't have time for that. So yeah, I guess that leaves the painting. So I've been wanting to do more paintings in this, like with this hand motif. I don't know why. I'm really fond of it. Every once in a while I do a piece, and with, I don't know, the hands, they're different. Sometimes it's like ghost hands. Sometimes it's just people being grasped. I don't feel like I talk anymore. And then other times it's just kind of like reaching. And I don't know why I keep going back to this. It's just something that I'm really drawn to. And anytime I see another artist do it, I get really excited because I'm like, hey, it's the thing. It's my hand thing. So I don't know. It's just this weird thing that I've gravitated towards over the years. I think the first one was like in 2017, 2018. And it comes back into my art every few years. And I've really been feeling like I wanted to do another one. I actually, once I finished my homework, my last homework assignment for the gouache course, I decided I was going to do something like this, and then decided to do a paint this again challenge instead. I have the sketch ready to go. I haven't started filming it yet when this box came in, and I was like, maybe I'll do the hand thing, maybe. And I was kind of debating it. And I think I was on Pexels for something completely unrelated. I was thinking, was I looking at animal stuff? I don't remember. And I came across a photo that had like this motif had really dynamic lighting or really interesting lighting. And then it had the hands, like it's all baked in. It was ready to go. So I definitely use references from an existing photo. Normally when I do these, it's kind of like on my own. I take a lot of photos with my own hands, but this was just, it called to me. It spoke to me. I had to paint it. So I will, like I said, get that reference photo and throw it in the comments in case anybody else would like to paint it. It's a really neat photo set. So yeah, thank you to the photographer for giving me something to go with because I was very excited about it. I'm running out of steam very quickly this evening. But yeah, so I was just excited to do the hand thing again. And I'm like not even joking. There was a urban fantasy series that was advertised to me on Kindle or something, and it was literally just the cover. It was like the 6th book or something, too, 5th or 6th book in the series, and it was like a guy sitting down. There's like ghost hands around him. Like I have to read the series now. I don't know why it speaks to me so much, but whenever I'm stressed out, this comes back to me. So I had to paint it. But yeah, I mean, I didn't quite finish this, so at the end of this, I will not be removing the page from the block, which is something I really want to do. I'm very excited. First time you get to get in there with a palette knife and pull it off, and yeah, I don't know. Very exciting thing. Normally, if you do you tape something down, you do the tape peels at the end. I don't do that for this video because I don't know if I'm quite finished with this. The original reference photo was very dark, and the shadows were actually like black. I really wanted to push the reds and purples. For some reason, it spoke to me, but I'm still thinking about going back and painting the background. I just didn't know how easy it would be to do with these brushes because, you see how there's some blotchings already, and getting it flat, I didn't know if I'd want to use gouache or just go in with watercolor and pre-wet the page. I just was too tired by the time I was getting to the stopping point Sunday night and didn't want to make the decision. So I don't know if I'm done with this. There's a lot more I could do with it. The paper is definitely holding up. I could go to town and keep painting. We'll see. Being able to paint to the edges and not having to worry about the pages underneath or the warping, it's so cool. I'm so excited. It's so dumb. This has been around for ages, and I don't know, it's like shiny new thing to me. I really can't explain why I have not bought a block before. To be fair, I guess I don't work in a lot of loose pages. I work in a lot of sketchbooks, so that's probably part of it. And if I had one and it weren't just something I was showing off in a video, it would probably be like one of those things where it just feels too precious to start. But since I unboxed this, I had to use something in this set, so there goes the preciousness. I get to play. And I could always buy more. I'm feeling pretty rough recording this voiceover. It's been a while since I did one. So I'm just rambling again. I guess I always do, so I can't really blame it on not having filmed this in a while. I don't know what happened with this hand. This one, I think I was starting to get tired of painting. It was the third hand back to back. And I was starting to get tired. I'd had a very busy weekend. I was trying to get like a lot of chores done. So like on Saturday, I was doing all the dusting and vacuuming and that kind of stuff. And then by Monday, I was deep cleaning, or Sunday. My God, I don't know even days of the week at this point. I was doing the deep cleaning of the kitchen and everything. So I was really tired, and obviously I still am doing my best. So I definitely was running out of steam, and I was not happy with that, how that hand was turning out. I do go back and try to fix it a couple times, but honestly, not my favorite thing. But I'm pretty sure if I was really motivated to later, I can lift a lot of that paint, because pigments don't really sink into cellulose paper. It kind of sits more on top, unlike cotton, so it's easier to lift. That's another thing that surprised me, with the brushes being a little bit, they're not hard brushes, they're not firm, they're just firmer than what I'm used to. Between that and the fact that the paint is more sitting on top, I'm surprised that things didn't lift as rapidly as I expect them to. So I do use some pigments that are a little bit more staining, so that does factor into it, but I could still, if I wanted to, and the paper, if it holds up to it, I could probably take a even firmer brush and lift a lot of that and fix it later. Yeah, and then I kind of pulled it back together for this last hand, I think, so yay. I'm very much running out of steam, but that's okay. Video's almost done. So yeah, like I said, I really did enjoy this. I didn't really plan for how I ended up quote unquote finishing this up, because like I said, I was going to originally do a lot of the darks and the shadows, and then decided not to, so it felt wrong not to have the back of the head, which would have been entirely in shadow otherwise. And then I don't know, I didn't really feel like painting it in, but I didn't really want to just match it to the shadows because I thought it looked weird. So instead I took this opportunity to just kind of play with watercolors, knowing I could always go back over it later if it's not super dark. So I just kind of wanted to see what like playing wet on wet would look like on this paper and throwing a bunch of pigments down. I admit at this point I am just playing. I'm not trying to make something in a certain style. I just wanted to see what would happen. So it's definitely different than something I would normally do for hair, but it's an experiment, and I have, I think it's 12 pages per block, so I have plenty more paper to experiment with. So I wasn't too worried about ruining it. Yeah, so just playing with it, and I think I might go back later and do the really dark shadow in the background, which would cover up a lot of this anyway. But for now, it was fun, and I kind of like it. So, like I said, had a lot of fun with this. I'm glad my mood turned around, because I was really concerned there at first, but these blocks are pretty awesome, and I can't wait to play with them more. And yeah, I'll definitely use the brushes more. Eventually we'll get to that sketchbook, and the palette I'll just give to a friend. So it works out, right? I can't complain. I did complain, but I can't really complain, if you know what I mean. So yeah. Thank you once again for your patience while I was gone. I hope you enjoyed this rambly session, and I hope to see you soon in a future video where I will probably be doing a Paint This Again challenge. So otherwise, talk to you later. Take care. Bye now.